Hello everybody, Jojo here. Welcome back to Octave11, and today we'll be chatting with our favourite Marg Murphy, astrologer, and welcome today to the show Ricardo, the crypto king. So we're going to have a bit of a chat today about the astrology cycles and the crypto cycles and find a bit of crossover perhaps. So welcome back to the show everybody. Well,
Thank you.
welcome to the show Ricardo, and welcome back again Marg.
Thank you.
And before we launch
Jojo.
in, there's one thing we needed to say, which is we are not giving any financial advice. We're just having a bit of a chat here, and hopefully it can be entertaining and at least in some way a bit informative.
Yeah.
So, yeah, welcome.
Thank you, Jojo. It's great to be here. It's my first time on your show or your channel.
Welcome.
So I'm excited.
So first off, we were just going to have a look at the birth chart of crypto. I think you can get that up.
Yeah, I can bring it up.
Ricardo, and have a bit of a chat about its inception in the first place and what that means astrologically.
I've got it here somewhere. Just bear with me. No, I've got to go here. So there's a few different charts. Just let me get my screen sorted out. This one here. Okay, so
That's it. Yeah.
that's it, isn't it? Now,
Yeah.
so this is it. Really, I know a little bit about cryptocurrencies, and I know much less about astrology. But I find this really, really fascinating, where you can take astrology and look at cryptocurrency through that lens. And so this chart here, I'm just going to introduce the chart because that's about as much as I can do, I think. And so this is basically, the majority of people agree this is the genesis of Bitcoin. So this is going back to 2009, 3rd of January, and we're using London as the location, and that is relating to the London markets and the different ideas about which chart to actually use, because you could use a Tokyo-based chart because of the time zones. But this is the one that, as far as I can tell, most people look at. And so it does represent the birth of Bitcoin. And so as we do with humans, we can look at the birth chart, and then we can also look at the transits and what's going on currently in current time. So it's pretty fascinating. So, Marg, I might throw it over to you if we can basically go through some of the stuff that's going on, like maybe the outer planets or the whatever sort of jumps out at you, I suppose.
Why don't we just look at the chart? I preface my little contribution here with, I really know very, very little about money markets generally, crypto, stocks, shares. I'm an astrologer.
Yeah.
So I can talk, and in a way, I kind of would, in my head, I'm sort of imagining that that's the chart of a person. So, there's a little bit of playing around here. So what I notice, first of all, if I just give my little spiel and jump in and question me or whatever, the first thing I notice is that the rising sign for this chart is Leo. And we can see that if people are looking. Have you got this chart up for everyone to see, Richard? Or yes,
is that right, Jojo?
Yep.
Yeah, we're all seeing.
Yeah, great.
I wasn't sure if just we were seeing it. So everyone's got the chart in front of them, and if they look at the sign Leo, which is over there where 9 o'clock would be on a clock face dial, that's Leo. That's the rising sign. Just that with Leo rising means look at me, notice me. I'm making an entrance. So there's that. We've all noticed Bitcoin now. And something that I realized, through conversations with you, Richard, a while ago, was that Bitcoin and crypto are not the same thing. So if you've got people that have my level of knowledge, you might want to, I can just explain very quickly here, and I think I've got it right, that cryptocurrency is an umbrella and that Bitcoin is a form of cryptocurrency, but it's the first one. So it's
that's
so
correct.
fitting, isn't it? It's really fitting that Leo comes to the ascendant. It's like, wow, this is this big dramatic entrance onto the world stage. And of course, the sun rules Leo, and we see the sun in this chart, the circle with the dot in it over at about 4 o'clock on a clock dial. We see that in Capricorn in the 6th house. So Capricorn rules our systems of governance, our systems of money, our systems of, corporations and all of those big organizations. So absolutely and definitely the government and our financial systems are ruled by Capricorn. No astrologer would dispute that. And so there we have the sun, the spotlight, in the sign that rules our systems and in the house that rules money.
Mm.
Now, I don't know how Bitcoin got this birth chart. Like, I don't know if the person who is the supposed inventor.
Maybe you could tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, I don't know if that person is an astrologer. That's what I was getting at.
Satoshi Nakamoto.
No. Yeah, I mean, this is what's pretty fascinating because there's a lot of mystery around the origins of Bitcoin. The name is
Satoshi?
Satoshi Nakamoto, but we're not really sure if that's an individual or is that a group of people or is it a government department? There's all this speculation. But
okay.
So but what is interesting too is that this Bitcoin chart, if we're talking about the 3rd of January 2009, so this is going back to when the global financial crisis occurred, and then from that we had the bank bailouts. So I think that's really symbolic that, as you've mentioned, the sun being in Capricorn and this is where Leo is in the chart, it really is trying to make that statement that this system that we have is crumbling and there's problems with it. And take note, look at this, spotlights on this, Bitcoin, because this is the direction we are going to move into or towards as the new system and what's going to come out of the crumbling of the old system. So that's a significant point that, and I've got another chart to show later, that the system is moving from where it has been to this new technology or blockchain technology, and this is Bitcoin representing that, which means that all the money, all the markets is going to move across into this technology, which is what we've since 2009. That's what we've been witnessing.
Right. And so occurring. In 2008, Richard, in January of 2008, Pluto, which is, if you look at the Capricorn stellium here, we've got Black Moon Lilith at 0, Pluto at 1, Mars at 5, Capricorn, and then into the 6th house, we've got the Sun at 13 degrees of Capricorn. Now, in January 2008, Pluto in the sky moved into Capricorn for the first time in over 200 years. And that's when we saw the GFC, the global financial crash, and all the bailouts in America. And, Kevin Rudd gave everybody $1,000 and built basketball courts all over the country.
Just to clarify, Marg, that Pluto, for everybody, Pluto's transformational energy. So
very transformational and hard.
So when Pluto's moving into Capricorn, that's the beginning of the crumbling of those old systems.
Yes, so that, and it's interesting that those Lilith, Pluto, Mars are all there in the 5th house, showing the crumbling of the old system, and then there's the Sun at 13 Capricorn in the 6th house, and that's the 6th house of money. But maybe because of some of the things that you've said, Richard, I might just mention a few other things that are jumping out at me in the chart. Yeah?
For sure.
So in a chart like this, it's not a person. So the moon in this chart represents the people of the world. And we see the moon up there at 4 degrees of Aries. It's in a square to Mars. Mars is our action, so propelled to take change, and we are being compelled, impelled. There's a tension between the people making these really big shifts, because to change the financial climate and situation of the globe is an enormous thing. It's going to be a long-term process, isn't it? With all the billions of people that, we're all impacted. So I see the moon up there in Aries in the 9th house, and that moon in Aries, it's a bit like the Fool card in the tarot, like with taking it, and the 9th house is your vision, your ideals and your philosophies and your politics and all of that. And so it's like, as a collective, we are taking this incredibly brave leap into the future. Yeah,
that's the divine spark, the star.
Yeah,
the star.
Yeah,
the cycle. Yeah,
yeah. So there's the moon, there's the sun. That's the systems, and that's the Bitcoin, and then there's the moon. All of us. Some of us can see the vision of the blockchain technology, and some of us can't, and we're learning about it or we're ignoring it. But there's fundamentally, there's no doubt that this is a chart that shows great change.
Mm.
I could talk a little bit about...
Sorry, Mark.
God. I could talk a little bit about some other features in this chart. When we look at an astrology chart, we look at the sun and the moon and the ascendant as, the bones, if you like. We've done that. And then we can look at Mercury and Venus and Mars.
Yep.
And then we can look at Jupiter and the nodes. There's a lot of interesting stories in this chart.
Yeah, right.
I don't know where it's going, but it's
lots
looking
of Aquarius. Wow.
And that's the north. If we look at the Aquarius, like you've just pointed out there, we see Mercury, 2 degrees of Aquarius, the North Node, 9 degrees of Aquarius, Chiron, 18, and Neptune, 22. I'm saying the symbols and the numbers so people might be able to follow them if they're...
I'm pointing with my little cursor there, so hopefully people can.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I can't see.
I don't know.
That. I feel like I need new glasses. Oh, yeah, I've got it. So
the little green one.
Yeah.
And if we look at the North Node, which is those, looks like the headphones there, at 9 Aquarius, we know that the North Node is where we're heading towards, where we're moving towards. So we're letting go of the individual, like over time, part of this process is maybe letting go of the individual accumulation of wealth. Me, mine. How much more can I possibly need or want?
The pyramid structure of it.
Yeah, and we're moving towards the Aquarian energy where there's a much more equitable sharing.
The collective
resources. I just wanted to comment a little bit more on the Leo ascendant and the Aquarius descendant. We kind of touched on it with the Leo being the way something is launched. So there was a big entrance into the world financial, stage of the Leo, the Bitcoin, Leo ascendant. But what we also see there is that right on that ascendant is the South Node. So the South Node is a point of releasing and letting go. And I kind of looked at that and I thought, what does that sort of mean? And then I remembered that I think in previous conversations we've had, and maybe you even mentioned it today, Ricardo, was that people don't know who the owner or the originator or the creator of Bitcoin is. Like you were saying, is that name that you used before, that Japanese name, I've forgotten it, sorry. Is that the name of a person, or is that the name of a conglomerate, or, what is that? We don't know, and it's all very hidden. And I think that's really shown by that South Node. it's not about an individual identity. It's not a known. And the North Node, the questing point where we're all heading to, is in Aquarius, which is much more this, egalitarian. Fascinating, because that's represented in the chart by the Capricorn stellium, like, the old, and the sun being there. I am going to become a new institution, in a way, a new way of moving in the world of finance. And then the Aquarian stellium in there, the people, that we can all be on the same level here.
Well, and also Jupiter there in Capricorn, but closer to all the Aquarius stuff. So
yeah, there's an urgency around that. We call that 29 the anaretic degree, and there's an urgency around it. And so Jupiter's saying something really, and Jupiter is a lot to do with justice. So we need something that is a lot more just, a lot more fair, and we need it quickly. That's why I think, regardless of, my core financial knowledge, I feel like this is showing us a chart of something that's here to stay. There's all that fixed energy in there. Yeah, well, just that anaretic degree, when anything's at 29, there's an urgency around it. So, and Jupiter's around, it's a benefic, it's a benevolent energy for all of us, because it's a social planet. It's not a personal planet. So it wants to bring benevolence and goodwill, and it wants to bring it in the way that we've shared our governance and our finances. So that's what I'm reading from that chart. And of course, that point is going to be really challenged when, Richard, when Pluto's about to move into Aquarius, which is early 2023. So 2022 is going to be an interesting year, because Pluto is going to go over that Jupiter.
Right.
And we know that Pluto getting into Capricorn created the global financial crisis. What will Pluto leaving Capricorn leave us with?
So
that's cryptocurrency.
Yeah, look,
just occurred to me, and it certainly wouldn't be a new idea. But over the last 18 months or so of COVID, we have seen the gap between rich and poor get wider and wider and wider, and that is not sustainable, because people are also waking up to all of that, and they don't want to become financial slaves. We've got this thing going on in the States called the Great Resignation, where people are recognizing that they really can work in different ways. So we're really on the brink of something. And
well, our whole work ethic's changed in the last 18 months, hasn't it? So more people have been forced to work from home, and who would want to go back to work if you can do it from home?
And I don't know what you like. I know that I really know very little. I just pick up little bits here and there. But I know that some countries are taking Bitcoin on as their currency.
Yeah, that's happened in Venezuela. The thing I was just going to show before briefly, this table was showing that the big companies, the institutional money, in the last 12 months has started to flow into Bitcoin, and we have a situation like the Tesla car company, or Elon Musk, the CEO. He's recently moved. It's around $1 billion of his company's money into Bitcoin, and there's another company called MicroStrategy. I'm in the wrong.
So there's also,
I just saw it, MicroStrategy, Tesla.
Big companies have started to realise their money sitting in the bank is going to cost them, rather than flipping it over to cryptos where they're not being charged all the fees that the banks are charging them. So it's a business, changes the business model altogether of where the money sits.
And that exactly, and that's the trend that started up. And not only do companies have to, and individuals have to pay bank fees and other things like that, which is, taking their value away from what they have. But the other thing that happens with currency is that over time it's been losing value. So if you have
absolutely, well, especially during COVID, where they printed trillions of dollars.
Yeah, and that's been a part of that happening as well. So, and if you're a big company and you've got billions of dollars, and if that's sitting in an account somewhere, that's going to be losing millions of dollars a year. If you take into consideration fees, but also that the inflation, the devaluing of money over time. So those things are really coming to a point now. So this might be that next year, 2022, we are going to see some really big changes. And we've seen enough now to know that Bitcoin's been around for more than 10 years. So it's got a track record. It's kind of shown itself to be secure and strong and safe place. So it is really, I think it's really looking like that we're going to see some, probably fairly quickly, some really big changes.
When does Jupiter slip in to Aquarius?
Well, Jupiter's going to slip in, isn't it? No, Jupiter's going to slip into Pisces. We've already had Jupiter go through Aquarius. Jupiter's sitting right now on the Neptune, I think, of the Bitcoin chart.
Jupiter.
Yeah, it is. Jupiter's on the Neptune. So the vision is becoming more widespread. Mm-hmm. The vision.
That's what's happening. That's what's happening. And we're seeing, they're talking about mass adoption of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So we're seeing more stuff happening with advertising. There's more and more companies promoting Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies.
What was the ad you saw, Marg, from Commonwealth Bank? What were they offering or talking about or suggesting?
Oh, look, see, because I'm not that interested in money, but, just the sake of it, I just tuned into a headline as I was flicking through to get to the crosswords. And there was something about the Commonwealth Bank making Bitcoin available. Somehow we could use Bitcoin if we're in the Commonwealth Bank or something. Don't quote me on any of that, but there was something, and I just thought, it's in the broadsheet newspaper. It's the Commonwealth Bank. It used to be the National Bank of Australia. You know what I mean? They're all privatised now. But I thought there's mainstream coming into it, and because I was looking at the chart and I thought, well, Saturn's hitting the North Node. What's going to happen with that? Is it going to be shut down, or is it going to be taken on by the mainstream? And that's not a question that I can answer. Because if I saw Saturn going over the descendant of a person's chart, I would say one of two things can happen here. You can either get divorced or you can make a complete commitment. But I think it's too big now for there to be a divorce, if you like, to a broader...
Banks are having to get on board, otherwise they're absolutely defunct. So they either get on board or they drop. Yeah.
The banks are bringing... sorry, I was just going to say the banks are bringing in custodial services where you can buy I don't know if you can buy Bitcoin through them, but you can store Bitcoin. They offer, accounts where you can keep your Bitcoin.
And then they will make some money from it, won't they? Because they're trying
to. I guess they're trying to work out how they can get in on the action.
How they can make some money out of what looks like a growing thing. So if the banks are noticing it, it feels like it's got a future.
And then we're seeing also that governments are trying to rapidly, work out how they can gain more control over it, because it's not a centralized network, it's a decentralized thing. So, and I think they're quickly realizing that they're not going to be able to do anything. There's no way they can kind of fully regulate it or control it. One of the biggest soccer teams in India are teaming up. It's another one of these coins like Dogecoin. Yeah. And so they're going to have billboards everywhere with the symbol of that coin, flashing everywhere. So this is going to happen very quickly.
We're looking at the
Marg of Neptune in Aquarius there too, which is...
Well, I think that's about the vision. That collectively we have to have a vision of the new, so that it can come into reality. and Bitcoin is a part of the vision. It's not the whole thing, is it?
That's
But,
right. That's
you
right.
know, we've got Saturn on the node now, and of course Jupiter is on the Neptune, so it's getting, you know, it's getting bigger. But Jupiter, you mentioned before, but what I think you were intending to say, Jojo, was that Jupiter's going to get into Pisces, and we've got that 0 degrees Venus Pisces there. Venus rules money. Venus loves being in Pisces. Right there, she's in the 8th house. Owl, the collective owl, sharing of resources. And she rules the very bottom of the chart, the IC, the root of the matter in this chart is Libra, which is all about justice. So it feels like a good story here.
Yeah.
Venus, which rules justice and money.
Balance, more balanced rather than again back away from that pyramidical thing.
And equality, equality is sitting in Pisces, which is everyone, the collective. In the 8th house, our collective sharings of resources. I mean, that, yeah.
I think
it's an interesting image.
And what reflects that it's a good thing and it's positive is the amount of bad news and bad press Bitcoin was getting earlier on, like a few years ago.
Media.
Yeah, and again, if you take and the people, it turns out, who were pushing all that bad negative news were quietly they were quietly in the background accumulating as much Bitcoin as they possibly could while they were publicly bagging it. So the whole, you just have to flip that. It's like if they're bagging this so much, there's obviously something very good about this that they want to try and stop people knowing about. And that's what's happened. Like, it's turned out now that some of the public people, very public sort of people that were saying negative things a couple of years ago or a few years ago, they're now endorsing Bitcoin and saying how important it is and how. So, and that's the thing, the battle that's going on in the background that we don't see a lot of. Like, we see little bits of it, but I think there's a lot of these battles being played out as groups and people are trying to, get their bit of control over what's coming so that they can be in a good position.
Well, I think
they see the control that they've already got being threatened.
Exactly.
That Mars in Capricorn, though, Marg, would pierce through a lot of that in the natal chart of the Bitcoin. Like,
Mars likes to be in Capricorn, but we can't ignore the fact that it's conjunct Pluto. But it's how we, the collective, make this work. We really are co-creating. The other thing I just sort of saw up there is Eris at the very top of the chart, chaos. So it's throwing, that one. So Eris is at 20 degrees of Aries in the 10th house. The 10th house, it could be seen as the powers that be. So it's throwing them into chaos and strife. Like, there's the background story that you're talking about. But the other interesting thing is on this chart is the next symbol along is the part of fortune. And that's in Taurus, which is also, it's ruled by Venus. So it's really positive. But that's going to be hit by Uranus. So there's going to be some interesting transits that might make, I don't know if this is the right kind of language, but make it wobbly.
Right.
Like if Bitcoin is worth so much in dollars, it might get wobbly for a while with Uranus going over the part of fortune.
Maybe we could look at some more like transits going on right now and moving forward of like what it might look like in the public eye as we move forward with different cycles and energies afoot.
And those time frames too, like when does that Uranus one sort of happen? Is that
I can tell you exactly when that happens, and that's June of next year.
Right, okay.
2022. And it will, it won't just be a day. It'll go on. It'll be June, it'll be August, and it'll be October. What one scenario
around that could be that we say hypothetically there's a big rally in the value of Bitcoin leading up into the first part of next year.
A rally in the valley.
A rally in the, I probably did say valley, a rally in the value, in the price of Bitcoin.
See, I'm not tuned in.
And then the timing wise, that with that Uranus transit in June, that hypothetically could be a crash in price.
Could be a crash. It's unexpected and it's wobbling. And I just gave you a few dates, and the final date for that Uranus transit to the part of fortune is April of 2023, when Pluto is at 0 degrees,
Aquarius.
Which means while the Uranus is going backwards and forwards over the part of fortune and, creating wobbles and uncertainty and radical shifts and changes. So, it might go right up one day and right down the next, for example. But, I don't necessarily mean a day here and a day there. We've mentioned months, from June next year until April of the following year. At the same time as all of that's happening, Pluto is getting closer and closer to the Jupiter in the crypto chart, and then, of course, moves into Aquarius. Now, the crypto chart has got a progressed sun at 28 Capricorn, so we still haven't seen Pluto get there. Pluto's still at 24, I think, today. So it's the energy is, the intensity is building, and the shifts and changes are building. And then, eventually Pluto will hit the Mercury. Mercury's about trade. There'll be a lot of buying and selling and people thinking, oh, why didn't I buy back then?
And more people talking about it too, Marg.
There'll be a lot of talk. It'll be right out there in the mainstream news.
Yep.
So, and when was that? That was 2024.
Well, 2024, say, when Pluto gets onto that Mercury. But we're going to have wobbly times.
Yeah.
Okay, Marg, so I'm just going to perhaps suggest that we do a little bit of a recap over the birth chart, and if there's any last things that are really popping for you, or you think people, would benefit in knowing of what you can see of the birth chart, and then we can maybe do another one and move on to transits and moon cycles and things. But just to recap the birth chart so people have a bit more clarity around the energies that are coming. So
just
from
a really quick summary, and good to do another one because, of course, as everyone knows, nothing's fixed in time and everything is a cycle. So there's a lot of big transits coming up for the Bitcoin chart.
That would be good to talk,
another day.
Yeah.
So we started off really with the ascendant, which was Leo, and the South Node being there. We talked about that, saying, the mystery around the originator or the creator of Bitcoin, but the big launch, the notice, the attention that's been given to Bitcoin with that Leo rising. And then we noticed that over on the opposite end, we've got Aquarius, the people, and that's a much more egalitarian, if you like, sign, where we want the good for the community. We don't want to just have the biggest bank account that we can possibly have. What's the point of that if you've got nothing and I've got everything? That's just the old order not working anymore. And then we noticed that we talked about Venus being the ruler of values and one of the rulers of money, being in the sign of Pisces, which is everyone, the collective, compassion, a much softer energy, and ruling the very bottom of the chart. So the ground that it's built on is fairness and justice.
Yay to that.
And we also talked a little bit about that Jupiter at 29 Capricorn, and Jupiter is wealth, and that need for, when something's at 29, we say that there's an urgent need for change. And we know we've been in a big process, if you like, since Pluto went into Capricorn in 2008, and this chart has a sun in Capricorn, but Pluto's not finished with Capricorn. And before it finishes with Capricorn, it has to move over the Bitcoin Jupiter, and Jupiter in the sky has to move over and hit the Bitcoin Venus. So there's positive stories coming, but there's wobbly stories as well. But that's money markets, isn't it? Up today, down tomorrow.
Yep.
But I think it's something that's here to stay. That's my own feeling about it, with that fixed energy in the chart. Yeah.
That's really interesting, Mark, because that's what I hear as well, listening to other analysts and forecasters and Bitcoin commentators. That's the feeling. That's the feeling, that it is something that's here to stay, and it's something that's new. That's just getting going.
It's total innovation, isn't it? This whole blockchain technology.
Yeah.
It's just words for me, Richard. It really is just words for me. I'm just reading the chart. I haven't got a clue how an ordinary computer works, let alone a blockchain or whatever that is. But something's happening.
And again, none of us are giving any financial advice to anybody.
We're not giving financial advice.
Chat.
We're just looking at this chart and thinking, what an interesting chart.
That's it.
Yeah. And seeing how it plays out over the next few months, when the chart has some very big transits.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into that. Yeah, in the next one. That'll be good.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Love your work, Marg. Thanks so much. Thanks, Ricardo.
Thanks, Marg.
We look forward to seeing you both again next week. Pleasure.
Okay, sounds good. Talk to you then.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Bye. See ya.
Bye.